All right, so what's going on, everybody? I am Tanya Oliver. Thank you guys so much for joining me. We are doing these 30 days of holiday thriving. We're talking about mindset. We're talking about habits and behaviors. We're talking about the way that we move. We're talking about how we're not taking our past into how we're going to be, transitioning from this year into the next year. And today is really about today's day 4. We're on day 4 already. And we're talking about establishing a priority checklist. Yesterday we spoke about making sure that our excuses are working for us versus against us. So that was something we talked about yesterday. Today we're going to be speaking about establishing a priority checklist. And of course, if you guys want to hop on, this is for you. So first thing before we start, if you know somebody that could benefit from this, that might be having a hard time, that have maybe had a hard time in the past with the holidays, go ahead and take a moment and invite them. Invite them to be a part of this live, because every single day I'm going to be pouring into you guys, but also at the same time, if you want to share something, I'm seeing your comments from here. I'm seeing your comments from Facebook. I'm seeing your comments from YouTube. Go ahead and put your comments, because this is for you. We're live streaming, and take a moment, invite your friend, because that's what friends do. Friends tell friends about the things that are working for them, the people that are doing amazing things in the world, and how we can get people up and running, because our friends and our inner circles, they do impact how we function and operate on a day-to-day basis. And so we want to make sure the people in our inner circles are doing good, because if they're doing good, we're doing good. All right, so today is really about establishing a priority checklist. I don't know, have you guys ever done a priority checklist before? Has anybody ever done a priority checklist? Do you know what a priority checklist is? Priority checklist is something we talked about yesterday, just kind of mentioned it, but Katie Reed said, self-care is giving the world the best of you versus what's left of you. And this is a time, as I keep saying, this is a time where we can feel really intense. We can feel triggered. We can feel pressure. We can feel stress. We can feel frustration. We can feel anger. All these things, people triggering us, can be brought to the surface right now. And having that priority checklist of taking a healthy time out and being like, wait a second, whoa, this is intense. I'm not operating as my best self. I don't really like the self that I'm at right now. So I'm going to be, going to my yoga right now, or I'm going to shut off right now, and I'm going to go, spend some time with somebody that's going to remind me of how I want to operate and how I want to feel. So we want to make sure that our priorities are in check, especially right now. And being entrepreneurs, because I market towards a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of you guys here, you're business owners, you are elite at what you do. Maybe you are an entrepreneur in your role for a company, and you are just striving to be the best. You're an overachiever, and with that comes extremist personalities, and we want to just make sure that you're right. And when you really understand, even getting mentally your priorities in check of, I am the most important person in my world, and I need to make sure that it's my responsibility. I was listening to a podcast this morning. I was listening to, so I always get my head right while I'm training, and they were saying, it's nobody else's responsibility but yours of how the energy you're operating in. When I'm working with CEOs and people that are running 6 companies or 5 companies or 3 companies or even 1 company, they have people that literally run their schedule, they run their life, and there's they don't want to take any responsibility but that one avenue of focus. And if something goes off, it's everybody else's fault. The issue with that is it comes back to the core of other people are responsible for how I feel and how I show up. Nobody is responsible for how you feel. Nobody's responsible for how you show up in your life. Nobody's responsible for your life circumstances. The moment that you take personal responsibility on how you feel, on how you look, on how you're showing up, what your outcome is, what you've created in your life. The moment you get to reclaim control over all of that, you reclaim control your power, because if you created this, the difference between victim consciousness and creator consciousness is if I created this and I do not like what I've created, that means I can create something else. And that brings hope. That brings possibilities. The whole message around this too is transitioning our obstacles into opportunities and transitioning our pain into power. So like that's like the core theme around all of this, and getting clear on what does thriving even mean. And so I'm really big on words. For those of you that have worked with me personally, I'm very big on words. I'm very big on understanding what words mean. And thriving has a lot to do with success. And at the end of the day, we define success. So what does thriving even mean? Let's take a moment and look it up. And if you find it, just post it in the chat. What does thriving, what does to thrive mean? Let's see. Let's get clear. Prosper, flourish. Thriving is to grow or develop well or vigorously. To prosper, to flourish. What does it mean for somebody to thrive? To grow vigorously, to gain wealth or possessions, to prosper, to progress towards or realize a goal despite of your circumstances. So to keep pushing forward, to see that you're making some form of progress, and to keep going regardless of life circumstances or what has been, to progress forward, to make progress forward, to grow vigorously, to flourish, to progress towards or realize a goal despite or because of a circumstance, which I just said the difference of victim consciousness is, why is this happening to me? Why is this my life? Why is this and this? Versus, okay, you know what? Nobody's responsible for how I feel about myself. Nobody's responsible about my energy. I'm in control of my energy. If somebody's got bad vibes and they project their stuff on me, that cannot have power over me unless I allow them to have power over me. Nobody has power over me but me. That, like, when you're around somebody like that, ideally we want to get all of you guys like that, because nothing can affect you when you realize you're the one that determines how you feel, how you look, and how you're showing up, and what your outcomes are going to be for you thriving, for you progressing towards your goals, regardless if Joe Schmo has an issue with you or Sally and your family's talking smack. Like, not my business. I'm minding my business. That's why I create a whole podcast on that. Minding my business, staying in my lane, and checking in with my energy, making sure I'm good. And why am I talking about this? Because this is about a priority checklist. So today's really about creating a priority checklist, getting clear on what your priorities are in life. Priorities, a lot of people right now are talking about sacrifice. Oh, but I have to sacrifice this, I have to sacrifice that. Life is not about sacrifice. Sacrifice is a form of like self-torture, self-punishment. Life is about priorities. Priorities come back in a check of clarity. What am I clear on of how I want to operate, since we're just focusing on this season, the next 30 days of operating and thriving. So it's getting clear on what does thriving even mean. Is to grow vigorously, to move beyond what the circumstances are, or where you're positioning yourself, or when, if you're gathering with family, or if you got to deal with things, or if you're dealing with your own stuff, or whatever triggers getting brought, like, I'm responsible for my energy. I'm responsible for how I'm showing up. I'm responsible for how I feel. I'm responsible for my circumstances. I'm responsible where I position myself. And sometimes I don't trust myself positioning myself in these type of environments because I don't feel strong enough yet. Everything's temporary. Nothing is permanent. I don't feel strong enough yet. Anticipate suffering, don't go there. I'm not going to put myself in these type of situations, circumstances, because I already, clearly life happens in patterns. So I already know how I'm going to behave. I know what I'm going to end up doing. If you have an issue with alcohol, if you have an issue with overeating, if you have an issue with doing any forms of drugs, if you know people that are enabling you, which we're going to be talking about later on enablers. There's two forms of enabling. You got healthy enabling and you got unhealthy enabling. If you know environments are going to trigger you. Know your priorities. What's your priority? This year, I'm going to thrive. What is thriving? To progress towards my goals. What are your goals? This is something we get into in December. Stay tuned. We literally have a whole year built out. What are my goals? What are my targets? Maybe my target is to be 1% better than what I did last year. Maybe my target is to not like go and get effed up and put myself in a bad position where I end up having to take the next whole month of January getting back on track. Maybe my goal this year, and this was my goal for many years, and sometimes I have clients where this is just our goal, is to sustain what they've built, because a lot of times they end up going backwards during this time of the year. So just to sustain your body, your mind, your work ethic, just to sustain it is like a huge win. And this is just knowing, staying in your lane, knowing where you're at, understanding your priorities, and making that priority list. Like I said, all of this is about preparation. It's the work behind the work. So if you are prepared and you just take a moment and you make that list of like, what did I mess up with last year that I would like to go back and course correct? Because patterns are always going to happen until we decide to change them, until we decide I am responsible. That's not Sally or Joe or Bobby Joe or Little Junior. I don't know any of these people. I'm just making up names. This is me. I chose to show up there. I chose to engage in that. Maybe it's whatever it's going to be. So I want you guys to just take a moment. If you want to share it in the chat, share it in the chat of some of the things that you are going to prioritize for yourself, so that you know how you now have a new internal GPS in your mind of how you're going to stay on course for this season so that you can thrive. Thriving is determined by you. You define what thriving is for you, because thriving, and Paulina had said in here, thriving is about making progress towards your goals. What are your goals? There's no sacrificing. You're going to get a lot of people that are going to try to enable you. Very toxic traits start coming out around this time of the year, with urges of cravings and desires and numbing and using it as a reason, as an excuse. We talked about excuses yesterday. Our excuses are either working for us and they're allowing us to be an asset towards where we're going in life, or they are working against us and they are a liability to ourselves and to whatever it is that we're going to achieve in our life. Because at the end of the day, it's your life, your rules, you define success, and how you feel is on you. Like, period. The moment you take ownership, my happiness is my responsibility. My frequency and how I operate in my frequency and the energy that I project out. Am I projecting out with frustration, like little gremlins? Or are you like, I'm going to operate no matter what in a calm state of energy? If I start feeling angry or triggered or, like a little crazy person, I'm going to remove myself. I'm going to check in with me. I'm going to get me right. And then I'm going to go ahead and share my energy into whatever it is that I do. And even in work, you think people don't realize or feel like when you're having conversations, you're trying to close that deal, you're writing out that email, you're going on your live streams, that people don't feel the frequency you're operating in? And maybe I'm using intense words right now, but everybody can understand energy, because that's the one thing when I get on coaching calls is everybody wants to have better energy. They want to have high energy. They want to operate at higher levels. They want to be more productive. They want to be more efficient. They want to make more money, so that they want all those things so that they can be better and execute stronger in whatever it is that they do. They want to be more present with their children. They want to be more present with their spouse and their significant other. Everything comes back to taking responsibility for your energy. That's nobody else. You cannot write that off on anyone or anything. That is on you 100%. The moment you make peace with that, the faster your circumstances are going to change. I promise you so much. This is for real. So take a moment and create a priority checklist, and understanding, going back to that quote that we said, self-care is giving the world the best of you instead of what's left of you. And so a mindset reset, I love talking about mindset resets. Does that make sense with everybody? Does this like processing with you guys? This is interactive as well. So if you want to add your thing, if I say something that wows you or it's like powerful, go ahead and repeat it in the chat so those that are coming in later can actually see it if they want to scroll, see the chats, what everybody's saying. So today's about taking a moment, writing your priority checklist of what your priorities are this holiday season. What are your priorities this holiday season? What are your priorities? What does thriving mean to you? Take a moment. What does thriving mean to me? Taking these moments to really structure and strategize, it helps you tremendously stay on course and stay focused and clear on what you're trying to hit as a target. What would you like to accomplish these next 6 weeks, 7 weeks? What does ending the year strong mean to you? What is, being able to end that year and step into like the 1st of January and be like, wow, I'm really freaking proud of myself. I'm really proud of myself, versus looking in the mirror and be like, why did I do this again? How did I get here? Man, why do I feel like this? I get it. I used to do that every single year. I just shared a transformational post for you guys, overeating, drinking, smoking, all that stuff, being around people because I didn't want to be lonely, not knowing how to be alone in a healthy way and really love and enjoy my own company. So get clear on what thriving means to you, what thriving just means to you for this season. Don't worry about the big general terms, because these words are going to change for you every single season that you step into, every time that you progress and you allow yourself to step into that next level of your growth and your change and transformation. Like, these levels don't change. Think of it as like school. You're in school and you graduated from 5th grade, time to go to 6th grade. Your mindset's not going to be the same. The teacher's not going to give you the same course curriculum in order for you to grow. You're going to have new challenges. You're going to have new different tests. You're going to have different reading materials. You're going to just different things. So why will we not treat our years like that? Why would we not treat, okay, this is this year. These are the things that are going to be built in place for my greatest growth and transformation and change. And I'm going to know how to pivot and course correct as I go, so that when I step into this year, like, these are my new things of what I would like to achieve, like for my passion projects, for my business projects, for my life projects, for my relationship projects. And sometimes that season is you building your own relationship with yourself because you don't even know who you are. And that's just, the more honest we can become, the faster you're going to be happy and you're going to thrive, because it's time we really match that internal success with our external success and get clear on, what does thriving mean for me? What does thriving mean for me in my life? Just this season. I define success as you build your self-worth, the way you think about yourself, the way you talk about yourself, having your own back. Having your own back is also getting clear on, what are my priorities? And creating that priority checklist just for this season, because I get all this stuff can be very, very overwhelming. But if you just focus on the holiday seasons of what is success for you, what are my priorities? Maybe when you're traveling, which we're going to be getting into because we're going through this, the Holiday Thriver book that I have. If you guys are interested in this 16-page ebook, let me know. Power statements. So we're going to get into a mindset reset. What if this year, we mentioned it a little bit, we're going to kind of do a continuation of it today. What if we came up with excuses as to why we deserve for good things to happen to us versus us continuing on the way that we do? So what if this year we came up with excuses as to why I deserve good things to happen to me and for me? And I want you guys to say this. If you're around people, say it out loud. Say it later. Write it down. What if I came up with excuses as to why I deserve I deserve, a lot of times we have an issue with deserving. I deserve good things to happen to me, and I deserve good things to happen for me. Versus you worrying about everybody else being in everybody else's business but your own. And then you're wondering like why nobody's doing anything for you, because you're responsible for you. Own it. The moment you do that, you might make a little people like upset, but at the end of the day, you're going to be happy. And that's what matters, because that's where it comes back to that one quote. Self-care is giving the world and others around you the best of you versus what's left of you. Power statements we want to claim. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we have 5 here for today. And then we'll close off on that, and I'll see if you guys have anything that you want to share. But power statements are just ways of, I would say, I love leveraging on the negative. Like I have people that come to me all the time after I do like a speaking event, like, oh, well, I have a performance coach and we work on this and this and this, but I don't have clarity on that. And like, well, tell me about what you got, how you are gaining clarity. And they'll say, yeah, they want me to come up with my vision or my power statements and my goals. I mean, it's almost impossible when you don't get to leverage on the negative, because a lot of times when we're setting targets, if we're talking about, well, what are my priorities? How are you ever going to know if you never set them? It's not your fault. People don't teach these things. They don't show how to leverage off of our negative experiences. And remember, we're even getting away from the negative and positive. We're going to focus in on desired or undesired. These experiences I don't want to experience anymore. I experience them enough. They make me miserable. I don't want them. I feel like I'm struggling, I'm surviving, and I don't want to be in that energy space anymore because I just it doesn't feel good. If we go back to this, what if we came up with excuses as to why we deserve good things to happen to us and for us? And say it in the I statement. What if I came up with excuses as to why I deserve good things to happen for me and to me? So these power statements, we want to claim them. And as I was talking about, when you leverage off the negative, this is what happened last year. I don't want to claim it anymore. I don't want to experience it ever again in my life. I don't want to this. I don't want to that. That's amazing. Write it down, because then you can shape shift it into the opposite. When we take the experiences that are undesired and that no longer serve us, we can take those experiences because you have clarity. The biggest issue is people are confused and there's no clarity. So what's up, Mario? So we take those experiences of allowing yourself to just write them down for your priority checklist. Like, these are the experiences I no longer want to bring into my life, starting with this season, moving on. Write them down. And then write the opposite. When you write the opposite, you know for sure, because knowledge only stems from experiences. If we've never had an experience, it's an assumption. And write that down. Experiences only come from knowledge. You cannot know something you have not experienced. That's it. So if you know you don't want to take those experiences, remember, we're getting away from labeling, because labeling also attaches the guilt, shame, and the judgment that block our blessings. So if we take the categories of, these are the things that make me feel bad. You could say they make me feel bad, but if we get away from labeling of the positive, negative, good, and bad, this is undesired. It doesn't make me feel good. This is desired. It makes me feel good. So if you know you've had these toxic experiences that aren't going to allow you to step into your next level upgrade in your life, you can write the opposite and then get curious about it. What if I allowed myself to actually have a thriving holiday season? What would that be like? And changing our energy into anticipating taking every single holiday season and projecting it into this one hasn't even happened yet. And it's not fair to you. This is not fair to me. And you can say that out loud. Like, say it out loud if there's people in front of you too. Remember, there's 3 types of people in the world. There's the leaders. The leaders have to go first. So you're going to inspire somebody. We talked about that a few sessions ago, inspiration versus motivation. Yeah. And then also, so you have the influencer and the influenced, and the agree to disagree. We all fit all 3 categories. Just choose when you're going to take placement in any of the 3. Yeah. Thanks, Paulina. If you haven't experienced it, it's an assumption. Amen. Okay. So these power statements, the best way to take them is to use the experiences you've had, write them down on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, you're going to write the opposite of what you would like to experience. What would I like to experience is going to shift that survival into thriving. Thriving is to make progress towards an end target. End target is of this new category of what you would like to experience this holiday season, so that you can leave 2022 looking in the mirror saying, I'm proud of myself. I ended the year giving it my all, and using every opportunity as, looking at as this, you guys being here right now, this is the work behind the work, the pregame. When you go out into the real world, when you have engagement with family, when you have whatever it is that you feel that you're anticipating, that's game time. So think of it as like, that's a game. This is the practice. This is the pregame. This is the preparation. We're at the drawing board. And when you go, it's an opportunity. It's your time to transition your opportunities your obstacles into opportunities, right? And your pain into power. Okay. So power statements are going to go in this space of, I deserve, it's like I deserving and I'm worthy of. A lot of times people have, especially you overachievers, because I attract overachievers. I get it. Extremist personality, all or nothing, all in or not in at all. The ups and the downs, have a very hard time. Majority, not everybody, but majority have a hard time with receiving. And even like receiving your own, like prioritizing yourself. Even people accomplishing, remember we talked about external success, internal success. External success might look amazing, but the internal success isn't very successful. There's no success because people still feel the same way about themselves. And it comes down to our level of importance, the way that we value ourselves, the way that we prioritize ourselves, because prioritizing self, of how we take care of our mind, our body, our spirit, are all intertwined with the level of how much we value and what we think about ourselves. Am I important? The moment you realize you're the most important person in your life, everything in your life is going to change, because there is no business without you. So I cry like a baby when people try to give me things. Yeah. Think of it as like this. I explained it to somebody the other day, and it really just blew her mind. When you give a gift to somebody, when you're giving a gift to somebody, oh, I love you too. When you're giving a gift to somebody, doesn't it make you feel good? Like to give? Like it makes me feel so good when I can give something to somebody that's going to bring them so much joy. Like I feel like that's a gift when they receive it with appreciation. Here's the thing. Many people, like if you're the one that has a hard time receiving, feel bad when somebody gives you something, and that other person's going to interpret that energy as you don't care. And that's what hurts. So when we receive with appreciation, I appreciate you and I appreciate your thought and I appreciate you taking the time to gift me something to think about it. Like that makes my heart so happy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. When that person receives your gift, it's almost like a gift to yourself. Like, oh my gosh, I made them happy. Like, yay. So when somebody gives you a gift and you reject it because you feel bad, how do you think they're going to feel? And if you interpret that thought process and you're like, okay, when I give, I actually feel great. Whether give my time, give my energy, actually purchase something, like that made me feel really good. Maybe you did it for yourself. I don't know. That's what they say, like when you're in a really dark space or really negative space, the best thing you can do is pour into others. So yeah, I would love to. Any speaking events, that's what I do. So definitely send me a message, please. So when we give these gifts, we're actually receiving them ourselves. And if you take that interpretation, be like, wow, somebody gifted me. But when it comes back to ourself, like we have to learn to give to ourself, to pour into ourself, because in this way, we can actually give the best of ourself into others. And it has a lot to do with receiving. Even coming back into the space of receivership. So if we're talking about creating power statements, these statements might not feel authentic at first. It's because you've been so programmed to feeling guilt when somebody gifts you something, including yourself. Oh, I really want to work out. I know it's going to impact my mood and my energy and the way that I'm showing up in my business and how I'm operating and how I can handle more work and how I can handle the stress and how I can. And then you prioritize everybody else and everything. And by the time the day ends, you're exhausted and you've not poured into yourself. And then you're resentful. And then that energy pours out of you into your work, into those emails you're writing, into those Instagram posts you're posting, into conversations you're having, because nobody's responsible from the very beginning of this live, which will be saved so you can go back and watch it, comes back to taking ownership of the energy you operate in. Nobody was responsible for putting you in a bad mood. That's on you. Check yourself. Like, I have to check my energy and my frequency. Sorry, you guys, my batteries. Yeah, my energy, my frequency every single day. You know, I'm responsible for how I'm operating my energy. And so if I know that I want to really serve you and gift you and pour into you, I first have to take care of me so that I'm capable of doing the same. And if you have children, it's the same freaking thing. You know, it's not your kid's fault you're miserable. It's your fault you're miserable. You know, I'm saying this out of love. It's not your children's fault that you're short-tempered. That's because, like, are you showing up for your exercises? Are you pouring good foods into your body? Are you speaking kindly to yourself? Do you have your back? Do you have your own back? Or are you talking shiznit about yourself? Are you putting yourself down? Are you beating yourself up? So these power statements are really important because it does come back to the space of receivership and pouring into you, because nobody's responsible for pouring into you, not even me. But I'm here because I love you guys and I care about you, and I really want to make sure we're a tight niche community of thrivers, because a lot of people are saying otherwise, but I'm just not tapping into that, and I don't want you guys to either. Yeah, so self-care is key, but what is self-care? Self-care comes back into, a lot of times everybody's promoting self-love and self-care, but we don't even know what it means, because this goes back into the beginning. Paulina wrote it up there. Knowledge, if you have not had an experience, you're making an assumption. Knowledge can only stem through personal experience. So if you're respecting your sleep and you have a night routine and you're eating good foods and you're on a food schedule and you have habits that support you versus like tear against you, like all these little things is the work behind the work. All these little things, they add up to how we're operating in our life and in our day. But we bypass them and we can't understand why, and then we go to the doctor and they put us on meds, and it messes us up even more. Like, it's really simple. It's not easy. It's foundation, and we need to establish foundation. And one of the foundational steps, which we're talking about today, is creating a priority checklist. Priority checklist is you. You are the priority checklist. But what are the core components that you need to put in place as some non-negotiables to make sure that you're pouring into yourself? And this comes back into create power statements. So I am worthy of receiving. It took me a long time to be able to say this without choking up. I deserve to eat foods that allow me to flourish, that leave me feeling good versus bad. I deserve to feel good on a day-to-day basis, not on only occasions. I deserve to take 15 to 20 minutes to sit down and eat my meal without feeling like I got to eat and I got to work. Like when I'm eating, I'm away. Like I'm not on the computer. And so like it's simple things, even our relationship and the process of how we're eating our food and what we're saying to yourself. So I deserve to shut down an hour before bed and have a self-care routine. I deserve to like take that time in the morning and not go on Instagram and social media and feel like I have to respond to everybody, because that's my sacred time to make sure that I get my energy in check and I'm prepared for whatever obstacles are going to come my way, because I'm capable and I'm strong and I'm operating in a really good space that I can transition any obstacle into an opportunity, and I can transition any pain point into personal power, because I am now ready for my day. And if you take it in that 24-hour sequence, one day at a time, one day at a time, one day at a time, you're going to see your life change, and you are going to feel like that's what thriving is. Because in the beginning, we looked up the word. What does thriving even mean? We say these words, it sounds cool, but like, what does it mean? And how do I take that word and how do I create an experience with it so that I know when I'm thriving and I know when I'm not? I know when I'm in the red zone and I know when I'm in the green, and I know when I'm yellow lighting. And yellow lighting is like I have to make a decision to like pull back to spring shot forward, meaning I know I got to take a moment to go and do a meditation, because so I don't blow up on that person, or I don't like scream at my kids, or I don't this and this and this. Like I know what I got to do to get back in the green. So I'm operating at really, really high frequency and I'm operating at high levels. And I know that I can take on anything, but we need to also take those healthy timeouts and those healthy breaks of understanding, what zone am I playing in? Am I playing in the red, survival? Am I playing in the green, thriving? Or am I yellow lighting? Am I in the yellow zone? If you're not doing what you got to do to get back in the green, you're going to go in the red. And it's going to take 10 times longer to get back up. And I'm telling you right now, do you think it's a coincidence? Come on, you guys. Do you think it's a coincidence that people get sick around the same time every year? Really? It's not a coincidence. There's patterns that happen, and majority of the people feed into those patterns because there's no healthy boundaries within themselves and with how they're operating in life. There's no priority checklist. There's no like assessing and auditing what's going on a day-to-day basis. It's like the buildup keeps building up until you're either in the yellow or you're in the red. And life doesn't have to be run like that. So yeah, super powerful. Call it in the zone. I like to teach everything kind of like sports terms, because I think most of you guys used to play sports. Did everybody in here used to play sports? Type in what sport you used to play if you used to play sports. I find a very fascinating correlation when I speak and I ask the audience, and surprisingly 90%, 93%, they've played a sport at some level and some degree. So pretty cool correlation between, personality traits and also athletic backgrounds. And sometimes people never have the opportunity to play a sport, but they've always wanted to. It's just because maybe life circumstance didn't allow them to. So getting back to these power statements, drop whatever you used to play, or maybe what you wanted to play, or maybe what you do. Yeah, soccer. Just interesting, because guess what? Your career is your sport. You're the athlete of your sport. Track. I'm telling you, big correlation. So I'm writing a book. It's going to be out in, I wrote this. Hold on. Let me not skip ahead. My team tells me I'm telling you guys too many things. This book was written in 2016 and I had to get it out of me. I was like, I got all this content. I figured it out. I struggled tremendously during the holidays, totally gave into cravings, desires, addictions, left every holiday like super bummed. I did that transformational post that I did. Yeah. Yeah, everything. And I have a actual published book coming out in April, and it's literally like a playbook. So it teaches you guys just like that. So I love like even transitioning all this terminology as if you think as you're the athlete and the career you choose is your sport. So at any point in time, maybe you did dabble with a few sports until you found the sport, or maybe you never really found the sport because maybe you needed to dabble a little bit more. I know for a long time I dabbled with soccer, softball, uh, track, swimming. I did all these sports. I hated them, and I was good at them, but I really didn't love them. And finally, I know I have twin brothers and they play ice hockey, and I would go to all their practices, all their games. I just was so fascinated with it. I loved it so much. But my parents would only play because they saw my history of starting, quitting, quitting. So I looked like a little quitter. But I just wasn't on the right path. So yesterday we talked about there's your end target. Your end target is I know there's a sport out there for me. I know there's a career that I'm going to thrive in. I know there's something in my life I'm going to thrive in. And there's all these different paths to get there. Yeah. You're the athlete and your career of choice is a sport. So I think it's also to understand like it's okay to fail. It's okay to quit things. It's okay to this if you know you're not in love with it, if you know it doesn't fuel your heart. And the moment you know that, like I knew softball was not it. I closed my eyes when the ball was coming at me. I'm like, like I hated it. I was scared of it. I had like anxiety every practice. I didn't want to be there. Swimming, I hated it. It was like torture. Same thing with running. Today, my coach laughs at me. He goes, I need you to go do sprints or something. I'm like, listen, the only time you're going to see me sprint is if I see a snake. That's it. If I'm going to jog, it's because I'm running late or it's raining. Like, there's never going to be a time where you're going to see me running if I don't have to or I'm scared. Like, that's it. So yeah, pivoting exactly and getting back to it, there's an end target. There's something out there for you. Some people have figured it out, others are and figured out, they're going on it. Other people are still figuring it out, and it's okay. It's okay to understand as long as you don't quit on yourself forever. So if you think of you're the athlete, here's your sport, you're figuring out your sport, you have all these different avenues for the sport. You got soccer, softball, ice hockey, track and field, swimming, you've got dancing, and then in dancing, you got all these different avenues. You try them and you're like, not for me, but you find one and that's for you. And then you thrive in it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying it's going to be smooth. There's going to be their own challenges, their own obstacles. There's going to be their own things. But because you love it, because you're passionate about it, you're going to win because your heart is in it. And it's worth it. And you have to understand before there's a sport, there's an athlete. So before there's a company, before there's a mother, because motherhood is a sport. I'm not one, but I know you guys are like bosses. Be the boss, be the CEO of those roles you play. Within each sport, there are different positions. There are different roles we take on in life. And I'm saying this for a point. The roles you've chosen to take are your choice. The best thing you can do is own it. Own your role. I'm going to be the best mom. I'm going to be the best this. But before you're any of those roles, before you play any of those positions, before you choose any sport to play, you're a human being. You're an athlete. And with any athlete, there's the work behind the work. And it's nobody else's job. It's nobody else's responsibility but yours to own it. The faster you make that decision, I promise you, the faster in life you're going to start thriving, even if fast means a few years, even if fast means a year. But it's going to be a lot faster than never, because there's a lot of people that live their whole life never feeling fulfillment, never feeling joy, because when I achieve blank, then I'll blank. When I make X amount of money, then I'll be more present with my family. When I build that business, or once I get that, then I'll, take care of my health, or I will blank. No, that's not going to happen. It never does until something bad happens to somebody. Typically, that somebody's you. So these power statements come back to the space of knowing your priorities, and knowing the point of me saying that whole analogy is that you are a human being. Performance wise, how can I perform as my most elite self on a day-to-day basis? Not tomorrow, today. Because thriving is about progress. How can I progress today? What can I do today? That person literally just triggered me. Everybody's triggered me today. I'm going to just namaste it, take a breath. That was freaking progress, because you didn't blow up on anybody. We have to look at every single day as an opportunity to make necessary shifts so that we can really thrive. And it really is a day-to-day basis, because today we feel capable of making progress, and progress is where momentum comes from. And so this is what gets us up in the morning. Like, wow, today's game time. But before game, I got practice. And practice is like taking care of myself, waking up, do my meditation, do my breath work, whatever it is that you got lined out, my night routine, my morning routine, like whatever it is that you got to build out your foundation, your structure to get you to play your best game of your day. Does that make sense, you guys? Yeah, running. Yeah. Ain't nobody catching me running unless I'm running later, sprinting from a snake. So power statements today, like I said, is really about priority checklists. Sometimes I never know how. I thought today would be like a 10-minute session, but it's like 50 minutes. But you guys are amazing. So power statements comes a lot about deserving and feeling worthy of. So I deserve to shut down an hour before bed so I could get some really great sleep. And I have really good energy tomorrow, because what I do tonight is going to impact my tomorrow. I deserve to how can I simplify that word? I deserve to take 1 hour out of my day to exercise my body so that I can feel better and I can shift off whatever this weird mood is that I'm experiencing right now. And I know I'm going to feel mentally strong, because when I take care of my body is my vehicle. And the better I take care of my body, the more that I can keep up with my vision, with my goal, with my target, with whatever I'm trying to achieve today. I feel good. So the better we take care of ourselves, the better we can be of service to others. If you love pouring into others, that means it's actually your responsibility to first pour into yourself. So the better I take care of me, the better I can be of service to the business, to the customers, to my students, to my family, to whatever those roles are that you're playing, because it's a role you chose. So if you want to play that role, at least freaking be the best of it, even if you are right now working a 9 to 5, be the best of it. Everybody's watching. Take pride in what you do. Take pride in how you show up. Take pride in, everything and anything, or else don't do it. What's the point? Take pride, because that's your name attached to it. Man, that person was freaking always showed up freaking awesome. Everything leads. People are always watching, whether you think they are or they're not. And you never know how it's going to shift into one of the biggest opportunities of your life, because you took pride in how you showed up, and everything you chose to do in your day-to-day life carried your name on it. Take pride in your name. The better we take care of self, the better we can be of service to others in anything we choose to do in our life. We've been conditioned to feel guilty, which was projected way back from way back into childhood stuff. We're not getting there, but that guilt, that shame, that judgment. We've been conditioned to feel bad. That's why getting away from those labels of good, bad is just like, I don't want that experience anymore. I want to experience something new. This doesn't serve me. It's not in alignment to where I'm going. Maybe that did a year ago, 2 years, 3 years ago, but right now it doesn't satisfy me anymore. So it's out. And then we've been taught to judge ourselves and others, which is one of our greatest. It blocks so many blessings, judgment. It really, really does. It's like poison. To judge ourselves and others for thinking that we're important enough to deserve to put our needs first and our desires first. And I'm so glad that we live in a time where people are redefining what selfish is. Selfish is self-care. Self-care is giving the world the best of me versus what's left of me. And if you've conditioned people to put that they come before you, number one, they experience a half-assed version of yourself, which is really not doing anybody any service, and you're resentful for it. And at the end of the day, you got to live with you, and people have to experience that version of you that isn't even authentically you. So power statements are really important to get clear on what you feel you deserve and what you believe you're worthy of. And you're worthy of thriving. You're worthy of feeling good. You're worthy of looking amazing. You're worthy of operating with peace on a day-to-day basis, regardless of what chaotic thing is happening. You deserve happiness. You deserve to feel satisfied within your heart, within your life. You deserve to be elite, and you just deserve to thrive. So I can say all this, but you have to be the one to start saying this to yourself, because it does impact you and it impacts the way that you're operating in life. And I just had a conversation with the client last night that people that are operating at high levels are getting really impatient with those that are not taking ownership and pride in how they run their businesses. And eventually you're going to lose business and wonder why you're losing business, but you have all this skill. It comes down to how you're operating during all circumstances. If you're not taking responsibility of how you're operating, it's going to impact your business. It's going to, I promise you. And you're going to wonder why. And I'm telling you right now why. It comes back to you're a human being and you're responsible for you and how you're operating and the energy you're operating in before you are an employee or an employer, a leader or a follower. Doesn't matter. It's your job to make sure you are the most elite version of yourself, regardless of every single role that you choose to take on. Take pride, take ownership, and I promise you, your life will start to shift from surviving to thriving. And, so hopefully today about creating that priority checklist, was that helpful for you guys? And power statements. We went on for almost an hour today. What a great, great topic. We're going to chop some of these up, put them into posts, but love you guys so much. Today was day 4. We're really picking up some momentum. Let me know, drop a comment in the comment box below after we post this, or you can send me a direct message on some of the big takeaways you got from today's live stream. And also share this with friends that you know will benefit from it as well. But until tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern, make sure that you lock this in your calendar every day for 30 days, live streaming, holiday, thriving game plan, getting your head right, getting your mind right, getting your body right, getting your energy right. So critical for this time of year. All right, you guys, thank you so, so much. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Send me your messages, drop your comments below, tell your friends about this. Make sure you show up. And yes, we're still going on Saturday and Sunday. I love you guys. You're amazing. Keep your head in the game. Great things are coming. Just focus on today, and I'm in your corner. Remember that. All right? Mwah. Bye, guys. Love you.